Well, hey, it's Gary from South Jersey Mobile DJ, and until this past weekend, I have to say, my most memorable event was my most memorable DJ experience was the Egyptian wedding that I did, where we absolutely killed all of the names of the guests. But as it turns out, since then we've had a new event this past weekend. As most of you know, the East Coast just suffered with Hurricane Irene, and we did a wedding. It starts with the bride who met with me before the wedding, of course, and she loves metal music. She wants Metallica played at her wedding. The groom, who is Puerto Rican, wanted Elvis Crespo and salsa music played at the wedding. And the mother wanted hymns, and that in and of itself would have been enough. But as it turns out, that wasn't all. So, as most of us do, we have full-time jobs. I was in Texas, needing to come back to Jersey on Friday night, and that was the night before the hurricane. And that, by itself, long story short, would have been enough to make it the most memorable. But it wasn't. So the next morning, Governor Christie is on the television on CNN, the governor of New Jersey, and he's saying, "Stay off the roads." Well, I call up the bride, and I call up the catering hall, and they say, "The wedding is going to go on as planned. We're going to start at 5 o'clock. Meanwhile, the hurricane is supposed to come in at about 11 o'clock. And that, in and of itself, would have been memorable enough. I get to this wedding, and I told them, look, I'm only going to do a small setup. I can't do the ceremony outdoors and the patio and the cocktail hour and the reception indoors. I'm only going to bring the small system. But they still want to have an outdoor ceremony because it's under a pavilion. So they're wheeling grandma and the aunts and the uncles in their wheelchairs from the golf the golf clubhouse to this pavilion with umbrellas open, okay, in the pouring rain. And of course everybody needed to be seated to hymns, which I was able to manage through this battery operated sound system. And the bride comes walking in, of course, to Aerosmith, because she wanted to have Don't Want to Miss a Thing as her walking music. That in and of itself would have been memorable. Everybody manages to get back from this outdoor pavilion to the indoor reception area through the driving rain. We all kind of begin the reception. And I said to the mother of the bride, I said, look, if the rain really starts getting bad, then we're going to just have to call this wedding a little sooner. And then after dinner is served, we really cram in the cutting of the cake. Good portion of the crowd had already left because the driving rain is coming against these windows. I began to play just a little bit of dance music because, hey, I'm there at this point. We might as well put on some dance music. At which point, the catering manager comes walking over to me and says, "Hey, I hate to tell you this, but a tornado has just touched down in Williamstown, New Jersey, which is only about 10 minutes from where we are, so you got to turn all the music off." Of course, I whip all my stuff together and pack all my equipment up and then carry it down 2 flights of stairs and out to the van, soaking wet by the time I get everything into the van. And that by itself would have been enough. But as I'm driving home through a flood and a back road, I run over some live power lines. Within a half a mile of my house, a tree had fallen across the road, and I went through this deep puddle, and my car literally started floating as I'm like getting onto the other side of the road, but I couldn't go any further, so I had to turn around and go back the other way, nearly to where I came, find my way finally at home, and that was the most memorable wedding I have ever done. And it was just this past weekend. But thankfully, everybody's fine. I'm going to go get a beer.